What do we do now is we get to consciously start to shift our biological predispositions.
This is the deep dive with Adam Roa.
What is up, deep divers? Thanks for joining for another episode of the Deep Dive podcast. This is a deep dive live, which means that we have a studio audience, a virtual studio audience for this conversation, this podcast here. And my guest today is Miki Agrawal, who, how do I describe Miki? I feel like it's different every time, but I would describe Miki as an entrepreneurial marketing badass. That's how I would say it. And in addition to that, I would say someone who I find inspiring for her authenticity. That's like one of the biggest things that inspires me about Miki is that in a world where so many other people are trying to conform in order to succeed at business or succeed at whatever it is and be who they think they need to be in order to do that, Miki is like, no, we're doing things differently. We're going to do it what feels true to me, what feels exciting. And those happen to be incredibly artistic and unique and creative. And she's recently written a book, Disrupt Her. And we're going to talk about all of that today. But I just want to say thank you very much, Miki, for joining me today for this and the rest of the Create community.
Thank you all for being here. And thank you to you, of course, Adam, for creating this magical place and space for everyone to create. Awesome.
Yeah, it's been really wild. This has been you and I actually did an Instagram live maybe last week or something where we talked about creating from the space of what do people need? Like what's my thing? Like what's the problem that is my thing? And then is it a problem for a bunch of other people? And so the Create community emerged from that similar mindset of how do I not go into like the honest truth is how do I not go into a depression during this time? Like, how do I not get depressed when I won't have any physical touch? I won't have any like in-person stuff, which I thrive on. And how do I do that for myself? And that eventually led, how do I do that to other people? And now here we are.
I love it. I love it. So important, so needed.
And so for people who don't know much about you, you founded Thinks, which are are you calling them period panties? Period panties?
Yeah, period proof underwear.
Yeah. Period proof underwear. And then also Tushy, which I'm waiting on mine in the mail, everybody. I'm going to do a video. I'm literally going to do a video the first time I use it. The high quality bidet.
Uh-huh.
And
wash your butt clean with a spritz of gentle water. That's what
gentle spritz.
Kiss to the behind.
And you are you're just a badass. You're just a badass. And really, I love talking to you. And I'm curious, how has it been going? Let's go just real, just how you're doing. How's it been going promoting a book, Disrupt Her? That's the name of your book. How has it been going doing that during quarantine time? Like, how is life going for you right now?
Well, I mean, like even taking that further back, I think it's just like, whoa, what a shakeup that's happening in the world today. What an awakening, a moment of transformation, a moment of complete deep introspection, self-reflection, and a call to go home and ask ourselves the big questions, like why am I here? What is this all about? What am I doing with my life? Why do I care about what I care about? Why am I listening to these societal conditioning, today when it's all made up? I think what we're realizing with this huge shakeup of this pandemic is that everything in the world is made up. Everything that we've chosen to believe is made up. And I think there's a complete, true, positive disruption that is called on every one of us to to really look at ourselves and say, what is this all about? And I think the book, is really resonant right now because it's a time of deep disruption in our careers, disruption in the concept of money, disruption in our relationships, disruption in friendships, disruption in the stuff that we collect for so long, the disruption in needing single-use consumables like toilet paper, and all of a sudden being like, wait, I can't have any. And so let me get a bidet.
Let me get a tushy.
That's why we're having such a huge time in our business right now, because people are waking up to the realization that, wait a minute, like if all of this mass consumerism goes away, what's left, and what do I really care about? And what we should care about is nature. What we should care about is one another, is our relationships, the deepening, the connection, and all the things that really matter in the end. And so the book, I think, really talking about all the disruptions in the book. There are 13 major disruptions that the book asks, everyone to make in their lives and to face. And I think we're all being called on those exact disruptions right now. So it makes a lot of sense that we're having this conversation right now.
Yeah. And so what would you say, like, if you had a hope that at the end of this, when we return to some level of normalcy, and we could probably agree that it won't be what it was, there will be something different. And I'm curious, what are you hoping that looks like? Like, what would be the best possible outcome of this for you?
I mean, voting goes online, education system goes online, in that there's not going to be these insane amount of student loan debt that everyone's saddled with, because all of a sudden it's no longer Phoenix University that's just online where everyone laughs at them, but Harvard is now online, and therefore everybody is now, it's a democratic place, and there's going to be a new guard of education system that's going to come up, and with that a new monetary structure which is going to be so much more affordable to the masses. I think that's amazing. I think the education system as a whole is going to get disrupted with what we're actually learning. I mean, what are the things that we care about? What is sociology, while it's important in some ways, is that like really a profession that is one that can get a job today? I think we're all trying to ask ourselves these big questions, right?
Sorry, all you sociology majors who are listening right now.
I mean, it's true, right? It's like, I mean, I was a communications major, and my Indian father, is like, I could teach you communication. Why am I spending $32,000 per year for communication? This is bullshit. He goes, bullshit. And I'm like, okay, Dad. And so, I really understand that there's going to be a disruption in all of that. There's going to be disruption in the way we shop. Like I said, we're going to be a lot, I think, more conscious of shopping locally and supporting local farmers that can get stuff to us faster as needed. We're going to start looking at reusable products and not so much consumables. I think that's a positive thing for the planet and for people. I think the way we think about animals and the way we consume animals is going to completely change, because that's a huge one. I mean, the fact that Corona came from a sick animal, the Spanish flu killed 50 million people, that came from a sick animal. The common cold came from a sick animal. SARS, MERS, all these viruses came from sick animals. And I think it's because we're treating them like they're Auschwitz, like in these cages. And I think it's a call from all the species to say, hell no, this isn't going to happen anymore. We need to all go back home, self-reflect, ask ourselves these important questions, say, is this fine to still do this in 2020 and beyond? And the answer is no.
Sick animals. Yeah, I thought it actually came from Bill Gates to push the vaccine agenda. That's what I'm hearing. And so now, my jokes aside, what you started with was, the education is going to move online, and there is another one that you said about moving things online, and we're seeing that right now, right? We're seeing how crazy it has become with the usage of the internet. I mean, people are online right now. Yeah. And I guess my question is, how do you balance that? Because for me, I'm designing my life, or I was designing my life in a way to spend as little time online as I could, while still utilizing the internet in a way that allowed me to create impact that I wanted to make. And so similarly, like I don't even have email on my phone. That was one of the changes that I made, where I don't have email on my phone. And yet I'm seeing, even with the create community and these familiar faces that I'm seeing here right now, there's a very real utilization of the internet right now that's creating a connection that I feel like I would be going crazy on my own, just sitting here with not talking to anyone. And so how do you in your own life balance the use of technology while still, like you said, reconnecting to nature, reconnecting to the non-online world? We might call that offline.
Yeah, I mean, it's been interesting for me specifically because I've been on my chrysalis, and I've coined the term my chrysalis, which is this period of time in. It's not time off, it's not a sabbatical, it's time in. And I spent many years building my previous company, building Thinks, and then I finally sold it last year. And then then went right in. I was pregnant at the time, and I went through a crazy, tumultuous, awful, yucky time. With just as anyone who does anything disruptive loves to get rocks thrown at them. And so I had to really manage that while I was pregnant. And then I had my baby, and then I started my next company. And then it was just sort of like, go, 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 go. And, if you read anything from Thich Nhat Hanh or any Buddhist scriptures, they talk about how it's so important to take time to stop, to then calm and then rest and then heal. And when you come out of healing, you're stronger, you're better. And so one of the examples that Thich Nhat Hanh gave in his book is the idea where when an animal's sick, when an animal is sick, they're not just like trying to work on their next thing and pushing through. They crawl into a little hole in a little corner, and they don't even eat any food, and they just they just heal, and they just spend their time resting. So if they stop, they calm, they rest, and then through that deep rest comes the healing. And then that healing then brings in new insight, new ideas, and then it brings in that space and that clarity for us to call in that, to ask ourselves that question: what is best in service to my highest and greatest good? What is best in service to the most, the exact thing that I want to do with my life? And I think because we're so clouded by doing, and next, and this person, and that output, and that email, and this job, and this, that, and just like, it's just so much. Like everyone is like, nope, you're going home. You're stopping. Everyone's stopping, and everyone's calming. And with calming comes, understanding, then acceptance, then recognition, then insight. And then from that calming comes the resting. And resting is just letting your body just rest and just, take all that pressure off, and take all of that panic off, and take all of that shit off. And from that place of rest comes the healing. And with healing, it's just magic. And so I think for me in this time period, I've just been really in that process of like, I gave myself end of January to end of April to be on my chrysalis, on my time in period. And of course, during this time is when everything happened. And so it's sort of an even deeper practice to stay in the stopping, and stay in the calming, and staying in the resting, when I'm still like, my company, all of a sudden Tushy is like, we're selling a ton of bidets, and all these things are happening, and we're now in Santa Barbara, and all this, it's just, and so it's like every day I still have to make sure I do my Vedic rounding, when I'm feeling a little tight, and I'm feeling a little scared, or I'm feeling a little, what the fuck's going to happen with the world? Like, what's going to happen? How are we going to gather again? Like, what's the process in that? Like, this is unprecedented. And so everyone's still learning as we're all going. And so for me, what I do is what I call my Vedic rounding, which is basically 15 minutes of asanas. So 15 minutes of just yoga poses with deep breath. And then from that asana, I do 5 minutes of pranayama, which is, breathing out of my nose. And I do 20 minutes of Zen meditation, which is just complete stillness. And then I go to my journal, and I journal for 20 to 30 minutes every single day. And that process and that practice has kept me sane, has kept me spacious, has kept me dreaming, has kept me, excited about humanity and the next phase of where we're all going as a human people.
Yeah, thank you for outlining that. I feel like what you said about it's stop, and then calm,
Yeah.
and then rest, right? Yeah. That calm piece is something that I feel like, honestly, there are so many people who this period of physical distancing and isolation is actually doing the opposite. Like if you haven't developed a way to ground yourself, then being in stillness, being in silence, being on your own in that way is can be actually
Very,
anxiety
yeah,
arising, right? And
very
so
interesting.
it's so important. What you spoke to is so important that people figure out what works for them as a grounding practice every day to calm the nervous system. Because when that nervous system is agitated, when it is in a state of fight or flight, our our body is diverting resources away from the rest. So
Mhm.
like what you're saying, that next step of resting, that
Yeah,
actually can't happen biologically if we're in fight or flight.
right.
And
And
so,
and and in my book Disruptor, I talk a lot about how to practice becoming a warrior gatekeeper of your mind, and then how to practice pattern interruption. It's so easy for us to get all the news media and all of that fear porn, as we like to call it, into our system of just thinking. And then we all of a sudden we're just like, oh my God, this is so scary, to then letting that run our lives. And that anxiety stays in our, it triggers our adrenals, triggers our thyroid. I have a very sensitive thyroid, triggers our heart, triggers our whole body, and our nervous system just, gets into that state of total fear. And then panic. And then from that place, you're acting in desperation. I recently went to I did right before Corona hit, I did a 6-day silent meditation in the Redwood Forest with Adyashanti, who's an incredible Zen meditation teacher. And one of the things that he said was, we can either grasp in desperation to know what's going to happen. We can grasp in desperation to figure out like what's going to happen in my life, what's going to happen in my job, what's going to happen in my relationships, what's going to happen in my home, what's going to happen with food, what's going to happen, what's going to happen, what's going to happen. It's like we can either grasp in desperation to know and then act from that place of desperation, or we can become completely at ease with the unknown. And when we become completely at ease with the unknown, what comes from that is what Thich Nhat Hanh said, is just deep rest. And when your body's from that place of like becoming at ease with the unknown, and I'm letting my body just sink into that unknown, that rest once again creates that space, creates that clarity, and then creates that question. The next question, which comes from that space and clarity, is what is my next best move that's in service of my highest and greatest good? And so that's really like for me, when I'm in that place of, like I practice becoming a warrior gatekeeper of my mind, which is first by catching the thought. And it's a practice, like when you work out, when you're doing a push-up, right? It's a practice of getting it right, like how to do it right. When you're doing a curl, it's a practice. When you're doing a basketball shot, it's a practice. When you take a kick, I played soccer for 30 years. I played professionally. And it's like, it's a practice where you practice and practice and practice and practice. And eventually, and the saying is true, we are who we practice to be. We are who we practice to be. And so the first practice that I do is catching the thought, catching the thought, catching the thought, catching the thought, catching the thought. And we're human beings, thoughts come seeping in. So if I'm in that place of Zen and I've meditated and I create that space, I'm able to catch that thought before it enters my gate and then spirals out of control. So when I catch that thought, I then say, no, not today. And you stop them at the warrior gate. You stop them at your mental gate. And then you basically say, that's a conversation on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. with my lawyer, with my coach, with my mom, with my friend, with my whatever, with my teacher, with my mentor. And then you stop it, because all it's going to do is going to create havoc in your body. And is that going to support you? Is that going to support your highest and greatest good? No, you've just wasted time. You've wasted energy. And I've been through that a million times, where I've let a thought kind of come in and just shake things up. And then I'm just not in that sort of clear thinking and clear restful state. And then I'm just not able to do anything productive. And productive for my soul, productive for my spirit. So step one is to try and work that muscle on catching your thoughts. Every thought, oh, I'm hungry. Oh, I'm tired. Oh, I'm going to talk shit about that person. Oh, that my mom said something negative to me and I'm just going to think about that. Oh, my friend texted me that and it came out with a really curt tone and I wonder what she meant by that. Is she mad at me? Like, what should I, and like all these different things that we kind of start to think about over and over again. There's this book by Louise Hay called You Can Heal Your Life. And she talks about how it's so easy for us to like, just again, like get triggered by the same thing over and over again in a negative way. And all that's doing is hurting us. And it's just not a smart use of our time is to hurt us. And so in my book, Disruptor, I talk about step one, how to become a warrior gatekeeper of your mind. Catch that thought, practice catching that thought. And then if a negative thought comes in, because it surely does, we're human beings, then the next thing I talk about in Disruptor is how to practice pattern interruption. And pattern interruption could be as simple as standing up. You go from sitting to standing. You go from sitting to jumping. You go from sitting to like doing some kind of a weird pose. And then all of a sudden it's like, you kind of like you just shook it out of you. And then you're like, okay, I'm now going to no longer think about that thing in that way. I'm no longer going to think about that thing. Like that thing is just bringing me down. Like, there's so much good that's in our lives. Like the fact that we're alive is like 90% of it. We get to wake up every day is miraculous. Like it's a miracle at all that we get to wake up. And because we're just given so much fear porn all day long, that just rests in our psyche, in our amygdala. Our amygdala, I talk about in my book, our amygdala is the fight or flight part of our brain. And it's basically, we use that part of our brain to, to like fight ourselves off bears, and instead, like there's no bears, but instead the media just tries to put all these scary headlines, which is like the bear. And then we click on them and we're just afraid of our lives. And that's just sort of the state that we're existing in. And so just like you said, turn your email off. I don't listen to the news or watch the news anymore. Maybe once a week, I just do a quick check and then that's it. But it's just, what it's going to be. It's going to be negative. It's going to be fear-based, and it's going to be, catering to our lowest selves. Do we want that? Is that what the best use of our time? No. So go ahead.
Yeah. You said a lot of gold in there, and I want to reiterate one of the statements. I think I saw someone writing it down, which was the question we get to ask is, what is my next best move that is in alignment in the direction of my highest and greatest good? And one thing that I've learned over the years is if you ask the question, you'll get an answer. Yeah. It doesn't matter what the question is, and it may not be immediate, but like if you were to sit down with a journal and you were to write that question down and allow yourself the space to just like be in the receiving, answers will happen. Answers will come through. You will start to get information. And that is a really key component. And everything that you're saying around our ability to be the warrior gatekeepers of our mind, and to sit in the stillness and to calm ourselves by learning to be at complete peace with the unknown. I want people to understand that is simple but not easy. Yeah. That is literally in direct kind of opposition to how we are biologically predisposed, because as human beings, as most animals are, the unknown represents danger. Just like biologically, it's that thing from our great ancestors, where those who heard that rustling in the bushes and didn't react to it, no big deal. Like that's the tiger, right? And then now we don't have those same levels of dangers. We're living in the safest time in human history, and yet the unknown still kind of ingrained in our just pure biology is like, ooh, that could be a threat. Our unconscious is consistently looking around like, where's the next threat coming from, just to keep us alive as a number one like biological response. And so when I think about the actual evolution of consciousness, when I think about what all of the technology we have, with the availability of food that we have, with all of the like access to water. Like I know there are some places that still don't have that, but globally we are doing better than we've ever done with all of those things. And so what do we do now is we get to consciously start to shift our biological predispositions, because they have served us up until this point. And that is why it's so difficult. And so for everyone who's listening to this, I want you to understand that the work, like Miki was talking about, going to the gym and like getting it right and practice and calling it a practice and a practice. The reason why sitting in stillness and learning to embrace the unknown is so difficult is because it is literally a practice that is overriding something that has been ingrained in us biologically, generation after generation after generation. And you, through your consciousness, through the pursuit of your personal development, are now the person who is able to start to shift that and pass off to your offspring a new relationship to the unknown. And that is how we continue to evolve as a human race. And so I just wanted to elaborate on that point because I think it's really well said.
Yeah, and I think, it's almost like our animal instinct is not actually to to go against the unknown, right? I mean, the unknown, our animal, it's like every other animal doesn't really know when their next meal is going to come, but they trust implicitly that they're going to find it. And they're not, if a monkey climbs a tree and he doesn't reach that banana, he's not going to be like, shit, my life's over. Like, the monkey's going to find another way to climb up the tree or
midlife crisis
on it. And I think we've been taught it's a learned thing to need to know. And this is also what I talk about in Disruptor, is the idea that, from the moment we're born and the moment we enter any kind of schooling system, we are taught how to think in a certain way. We're taught how to behave in a certain way. We're taught to sit down, be quiet, take orders, put your hand up quietly, do it this way. Otherwise, take the standardized test and sit in your rows of desks and sit there. And otherwise, you're not going to graduate. If you don't graduate and be obedient, then you're going to not get to the next level and you're not going to get a job. And if everybody needs a job, and otherwise you're not going to have a home with a family and a white picket fence in the car. And it's like, that's still that life that we think is the way it's supposed to be because it's been so deeply ingrained in us. But when you actually think about like where the schooling system came from, Horace Mann was one of the person who really came up with the original schooling system. And, this is during the Industrial Revolution, and he created the Common School. And the Common School was to help all these children become common, so that they can then fill in a factory worker job. So they can, in case a factory worker doesn't show up, they can just insert another person like a cog in a machine into the system. And the system is just not that way anymore. We're not cogs in machines. We're human beings with feelings. And this is why I think the Adderall and the depression and the drugs and the this and the that has gone up so much, is because we're putting on these faces and these masks that just don't represent who we authentically are. And so as a result, we're operating from this completely not ourselves place. And that's what we're fighting against. I think the deepest part of ourselves is actually comfortable in the unknown. It's the learned behavior that we're supposed to know, we're supposed to know, we're supposed to know, we're supposed to know. That is what creates that anxiety and that complete lack of alignment within us, which is causing all that anxiety. And so I think, if we really go back to ourselves and come home to ourselves and come home to our truest nature, it's really actually a calm, loving, abundant place. We just have to remember that it's there.
Yeah. I feel like most of the really quote unquote successful people that I know, which when I say successful, I don't just mean business wise. I also mean people that are happy. Like people that I look at and I go, yeah, they're crushing life. They see the unknown as an opportunity. The unknown is an opportunity to learn something. It's an opportunity to develop a new skill. It's an opportunity to start a new business. It's an opportunity there, like the great explorers of like, I wonder what's over there beyond the horizon. And the people who are like, oh, I don't know the answer. And I've been trained that if I don't know, that means I'm wrong. I get the red X through the problem on the test because I didn't know. That relationship to you are successful if you know, I think is an incredibly unhealthy thing that I would agree that our kind of standardized schooling system reinforces for sure.
Absolutely. And that's the disruption, right? And that's the space that we're all in. We're just questioning everything. I think it's just a permission slip. We all need a permission slip to just question every single thing in our lives and ask, why am I doing it this way? Is this the right way for me? Or is it because I'm taught that this is the right way for me? Should I be in this relationship? Or is it because on paper, this relationship looks really good and my parents will approve of me? Am I getting this job because my parents will feel like they're safe and that their children are secure? Or am I doing this because I really, really genuinely love it? There are parts of every job that are very wax on, wax off, and sand the side and paint the fence, like Karate Kid, right? And it's like, so it's not like every job is perfect, but there are things that really, really, that really impact our hearts and that move us in the direction of our dharma, our purpose. And I think that, once we really, really acknowledge that that's all like this is a blank canvas that we get to decide, and we have to give ourselves permission to decide that we can paint anything that we want on it, as long as it's from a place of good love, kindness. It's not hateful and awful, but it's coming from a really authentic, loving place, which we're born that way. We're born love. It's like I have a chapter in my book about haters. There's a chapter about how we just, like haters exist in other people. Haters are somebody else, but haters exist in all of us. There is a hater in every one of us. And if we can acknowledge that, then we can go back to being a lover. We can go. So I talk about the spectrum of the sort of the spectrum of self. Let me pull that up. So we have basically an internal and an external spectrum of ourselves. And, when we're feeling angry or hurt or sad or insecure or jealous or anxious, envious, then we're more likely to act out in a mean, put down, take down, scarce, negative way, right? If we're feeling happy, fulfilled, secure, inspired, we're more likely to act out in a kind, complimentary, uplifting, abundant way, right? And so we all, as human beings, and it's okay, teeter back and forth on our internal spectrum where we're feeling insecure, sad, angry, or we're feeling happy, fulfilled, secure. None of us are perfect. And so in the moments where we're feeling angry, hurt, sad, negative, insecure, that's when we have to catch ourselves not wanting to write mean texts, not wanting to take others down, not wanting to talk shit, not wanting to be like, yeah, see, she was mean until I knew it, or just saying mean things, because that's how we're feeling about ourselves internally. That's when we start to become really masterful in our own emotions and our own selves. And so it's really about how fast can we catch ourselves, in that angry, hurtful, sad, insecure, anxious, jealous state, envious state. And then once we catch ourselves, we're like, I'm alive, I'm a human, the sun shines on me just as brightly as anybody else. The clouds, the rainbows are above me just like everybody else. And I'm going to seek inspiration from others instead of envy. I'm going to find like complete, wowness in other people instead of feeling jealous or feeling small. It's like, how can I be like that person and feel like exalted and excited about that, about what they're doing, and inspire me to do that instead of feeling bad about yourself. So it's just sort of like, it's all about catching ourselves. And, one of the stories that I talk about is the story of a sensei. And the sensei, he, one of his students asked him, he's like, I don't understand, like when you have a bunch of attackers attacking you at the same time, how do you block them all at the same time and come out like completely like fine, And the sensei said, no, I'm actually I'm moving so fast that, I get this person, I get that person, I get this person, I get that. By the time, like, I'm coming back to center so fast. And the idea is we're getting so many inputs and so much shit that's coming at us, and we're freaking out about this and worrying about that. And there's just so many inputs. And it's like, eventually we're going to get so good at just getting back to center and getting back to center and getting back to center as fast as possible. And so that's the game. The game is not to be perfect. It's okay to be imperfect, but it's to also call ourselves out when we are being imperfect, and then we can get realigned. It's okay to fuck up. It's okay to be wrong. We've all been there. And it's like, and then our egos get in the way and be like, I don't want to apologize because then I'm going to look bad. And it's like, okay, what's the point? Do you want to resolve, or do you want to just stay in a fight? So, right? And
I'm laughing because I've been that person in a previous so I was in a 10-year relationship. Oh, by the way, for anyone who's here live right now, if you have any questions, now's a good time to type them into the chat and we'll work to get to them live. In a relationship, I was in an almost 10-year monogamous relationship, and in the initial stages, I can look back because I was 24 essentially when we really started dating. And in those initial stages, it was like, I'm going to be mad. Like, I'm going to stay mad. I want you to know how upset I am. And even though I know that if I simply walked over to you and told you I loved you and gave you a kiss and said, let's be good, we'd be good. I definitely spent many, many years in the, like, I'm going to hold on to this thing. And that question what you just said is like, what is ultimately the goal? Like, what is the intention for your life? Is the intention for your life to be happy, to be whatever, or is it to be right? Or is it to prove all your haters wrong? Like, what is actually truly the thing that underneath it all is motivating you? And if you're really honest about that, that's incredibly important. It was eye-opening to me how much of my life I had spent in a space of operating from needing to, like, validate myself to people and prove myself. And so that was a major shift for me when I was just quite honest, just like honest about that and saying, I don't want to be that anymore. That's not what I want to use as my primary motivator any longer.
I hear.
There's a question here, Miki. How do you know what is your purpose or what your calling is? Like, how have you been finding that for yourself?
So in my first book, Do Cool Shit, I talk about that. It's like, I always ask myself 3 questions before I start any business, before I start anything. Question number 1 is I ask myself, what sucks in my world? It has to start with me. It has to be a problem in my life. Because if you're like, I'm going to start another t-shirt company, it's just like, okay, you're 1 in a million t-shirt companies. Like, good luck. It's a race to the bottom. If you want to start another thing just from a place of ego, great. But is it a problem that you are facing? It starts with you. So what sucks in my world? And just start walking around and ask yourself what you complain about on a frequent basis. For me, it was having period accidents every single month. It was like my first time getting my period every month. It was like, oh my God, bloodshed everywhere. What the fuck? And I would have to, like, do the whole cleaning and the thing, and my mattress and everything was like it was crazy. And so, with in the pooping category, like, every time, I had to, in 2014, I was struggling with a very, very intense hyperthyroid condition, which made me poop up to 8 times per day. And it wasn't clean poops. It wasn't like those, like, poops where when you wipe, there's nothing there. It was like a very messy poop. And so it was like 8 times of those a day. And instead of just, like, I had to jump in the shower and do the whole thing. And it was like a really awful, tedious process. And so my first Valentine's Day, my boyfriend, now husband, Andrew, got me this kind of crappy Chinese bidet thing that I was like, what the hell is this? And we installed it, and I was like, this thing, it changed my life. And I was like, I need to create the best in class, beautiful designer version of a bidet that will revolutionize the way Americans go to the bathroom, because this is so needed. And it changed my life. And and it solved a problem for me. So question number one is, what sucks in my world? Question number two is, does it suck for a lot of people? Because if it just sucks for you, you're probably a diva and like whatever, and it's probably you're probably gonna have like a one customer, and that's you, which is fine too, which is great. It has to start with you if you're passionate about something. But so what sucks in my world? Does it suck for a lot of people? Every woman here, I would like you to raise your hand if you've ever had a period accident in your life. Okay, everyone, woo! Okay, right? And, if every single person here has, like a non-clean poop, has had or have a non-clean poop, come on, it's all of us, let's be honest. Yes. And so, and it's like, you're literally like like the analogy I give is, imagine if you jumped in your shower, did not turn the water on, and just used dry toilet paper. And you're like, that's not clean. It's like, what, like, why are we doing that? The dirtiest part of our body. And so I basically, like that, it's like, it was just like a ding, ding, ding moment for me. So it's like, oh my God, it sucks for a lot of people. In fact, anyone who doesn't have a bidet, you're pretty much sitting on fecal matter all day long. Like, that's just the truth. And so it was an interesting thing. It's like, wow. And there are 30 million cases of chronic urinary tract infections, hemorrhoids, anal fissures, anal itching, bacterial vaginosis, all, GI issues, like people who have mobility issues, who can't turn it on, who can't go to the bathroom, people who have obesity, who are obese, who can't even reach around and wipe their own butts. There are real things that exist for a lot of people where a bidet makes a lot of sense. And so millions and millions of people. So there is a market. So what sucks in my world? Does it suck for a lot of people? And then the third question is, can I be passionate about this issue, cause, or community for a really long time? For me, my first business was in the food space. I created New York City's first gluten-free farm-to-table pizza restaurant. I still have 4 locations now, which are the whole story in and of itself right now during Corona. But yeah, New York City. So for me, having stomach aches, started my restaurant, and then I realized that 1 in 5 Americans eat gluten-free, and then that's why it's been around for 16 years. With things like, every woman has had an experience, has a challenging time. I can be passionate about food. I can be passionate about women's issues, and really, like equity for women forever. I'm passionate about that for the rest of my life. And I can be passionate about the environment. Right now, Tushy is helping save 15 million trees per year from getting flushed down the toilet. To date, we've helped over 2 million trees get saved because people are using our product. And we've also helped build almost 60,000 toilets for families in India, or 60,000 families in India have access to clean toilets now because of Tushy. And so there's this sort of, like, for me, that's the things that's what matters. It's like, what sucks in my world? Does it suck for a lot of people? Can I be passionate about this issue, cause, or community for a really long time? Can I be passionate about the global sanitation crisis that affects billions of people? Yes. Can I be passionate about the environment? Yes. Can I be passionate about women's issues? Yes. Can I be passionate about food? Yes. For the rest of my life. And you have to ask yourself, can I sit in the discomfort of this, and maybe not making any money, or maybe who knows what's going to happen, and maybe going through the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, the roller coaster and the insanity of entrepreneurship for at least 10 years? That's your question before you start any business. You have to ask yourself, can I do this for 10 years and sit in this company, this project, this idea for 10 years? And if your answer is no, then don't do it. So for me, my answer is yes, 100% to all of the above. That's why my restaurants, are still standing 16 years later. Started when I was 25 years old. And it's the hardest freaking business of all time is the restaurant business. But I'm so passionate about food. I'm so passionate about giving people a healthy comfort food. I'm so passionate about supporting local farms. I'm so passionate about alternative means of eating, delicious food. I've been passionate about that for 16 years, and I've been passionate about, solving women's issues since 2005 when I came up with the idea. 2011 when we started. It's 2020 now. It's been, a very long time since the idea for things came to be. And then with Tushy, the idea was born in 2013 or 2014 when my husband got me the product. And then, we really built it starting 2016, and it's 2020, and we're now having our heyday in 2020. But that's 4 years later. So it's really a matter of staying power. Like how much staying power do you have in the thing that you want to create? People are like, I have so many ideas. I don't know which one to start. What, can I do all of them at the same time? Life's short. The answer is no. You can't. You can't do them all. You can only do one at a time. You can't. You can't. I mean, unless you have a team for every one of them, unless you've gone to a place like I've like, knock on wood, gone to a place where I have a team for my companies. I have a team for my restaurant. I have a team for Thinks. I have a team for Tushy. I put a CEO in place for Tushy as well. So I can now focus on the next inventions and, an art project I'm working on with, I think some of you are part of that. And, and so like it's really about where you are. It's about how like my husband gave me this really great definition of the word power. The word power is how fast can you take an idea in your head and actually actualize it? That's power. That's like, who what you can get, how you can get people to mobilize, coming up with the idea, like getting the capital, like whatever, like there's a power and an energy in that, right? And my father came to this country with $5 in his pocket. My father did not have a clean toilet to go to in India. And I actually found out about that literally a month ago. And we've helped 60,000 families gain access to clean toilets. I mean, that healed an ancestral lineage. Like I like when I found that out, it was like the most powerful thing ever. But my father didn't have a clean toilet to go to in India. My father came here with $5, and I didn't have a fat silver spoon in my mouth. I came with nothing, but I have an education. I'm an able-bodied person. I speak English. I mean, I'm definitely privileged in a lot of ways, like everyone else is on this call, and so, it's just about relentlessness. We have to be relentless. And, that's it. It's like you get 1,000 no's. You have to keep, if you believe in your thing, and if you believe there's a problem that you're solving, and for you, for others, then you're going to keep going. And I think that is part of the thing. A lot of people love to, what I call in my book, chirp, 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 and complain. I drew all the pictures in my book too. I'm quite proud of that. Because
are you the illustrator of those? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I illustrated the book.
Amazing.
That's why they're grade school level, but I totally am proud of them. Wait, let me find the picture. Oh, here it is. So I drew this picture, and it's kind of, you guys can see it. It's like birds chirping in a tree. And it's like the way I talk about it is like, we just love chirping. Chirp, 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 chirp. I have an idea. I'm doing this. Oh my God. Can you believe that girl that did that? Oh my God. I can't believe, oh my God, did you read that article? Oh my God, did you see that? Oh my God. Oh my God. And it just like chirp, 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 chirp all day long, wasting time. And it's like, the way I talk about it in business is, if you come to me without just chirps, which is complaining, which to me, it's like chirping and complaining. If you can come to me with 3 solutions, then you're so much more valuable than you're just coming to me with a complaint. If you come to me with a complaint, but with 3 solutions, at least in your job, in your work, in your relationships, hey, like when I told you that you told me you'd call me, it's been 3 times. What if, like, would it be best if, and you didn't call me back, would it be best if I called you, or like if we set up a calendar invite, like come up with a solution? Because instead of just being like, I can't believe you didn't call me, like, ugh, what if, and then the person on the receiving end is like, sorry. And then like, do you think that person wants to call you even more? Of course not. And so it's like, rather, it's like, hey, maybe next time it'd be best, like, with my assistant as an example, right? Like, we're not in the same space, so sometimes things get lost in translation. So it's easy to get kind of frustrated quickly because of, something could go wrong or whatever. But instead it's like, okay, why don't we put together a system? Step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For everything that we do that we haven't created a system before, why don't you come up with that first? I'll review the system. I'll agree with that system, and then we'll carry on. Because otherwise I'm like, oh, I didn't get it right, or I can't believe, it's like that game could continue. It just erodes the relationship. It just makes it shitty to spend time together versus just coming up with a system that just says like, what if we tried this? What if we tried that? That would make a relationship so much better. That would make a job so much better. That would make you seem like a leader. That would bring a leadership element to you and how you operate. I like those people. I prefer people who come to me with solutions and just chirp, chirp, chirp all day long.
Yeah, and there are people on this call who have worked with me in different capacities, and that's one of the things that I really do feel like I pride myself in, is if I come here and I'm like, okay, so the last 2 times I've asked for this to happen, it hasn't gotten done in the time that I've asked it for. What do you need from me in order to ensure that that doesn't happen again? What is the system that we need to create? Does it need to be something where, do I need to text it to you? Do I need to voice note it to you? Is it something where I need to ask you to like put it into your notes on your phone when I'm saying it to you? Like, what do we actually get to create together so this doesn't happen? And that goes back to what we were talking about before, is like, the intention is to resolve the issue. The intention is not to show that like I remember it and you don't. Like, the intention is to come to a place where we can actually operate efficiently.
Okay.
And when you come to with solutions in mind, it shows that your intention is to resolve the issue, not to be right, not to blame, not to guilt trip or anything like that.
Think about when someone comes to you with a complaint, are you like, yay, complaining, woo, you know, or are you like, okay, thank you for that note. One of the 75 complaints that I've now received, you know, from you or from whatever, it's like, thanks very much. I will think of a solution for you. See you later.
It makes it your problem too. If they come just to complain, it's like, you need to fix this. Like, this is your issue, and it doesn't create that sense of, we're actually in this together. We're coworkers. We are creating something together. We are in a relationship. Like, together we can figure this out. And so I love that. And the last thing I'll add to what you've said is, with that 10-year thing, we're asking that question, could I be passionate about this for 10 years? That's such a big one, because even for me, when my poem went viral and all of a sudden people wanted me to speak on all these stages, and I'm getting invited to Mind Valley and all of these things, what people don't realize is I had already, on my own dime, toured internationally twice for poetry. I'd been putting out videos on the internet of me talking about manifestation or whatever for years. I had a podcast that no one had listened to at the time. And like, all of these things that I had been doing probably for 6 or 7 years before that poem ever went viral. And so had I said after a year or two, wow, this is just not going anywhere, I'm going to continue, I'm going to just stop and give up, I don't get that quote unquote overnight success. And so many people want to look at that thing and be like, wow, it's so successful. Tushy's so great. And you're like, yeah, this is our 4th year. Just so you know, this is our 4th year. And
so it's really the 6th.
6th year. Great. And there was, and there was a question about like, how can I have some inventions. How can I truly disrupt and get them produced? And I think there's not a cookie cutter answer to that. What is underneath that is what Miki's been talking about today, which is like, can you care about it enough for long enough to go through the obstacles, to overcome the resistance, to ignore the chirping from the haters, to work through the things that aren't the complaints and figure them out? Are you passionate enough about that to figure it out over time? Because it will take time. And so that is
over and over and over and over.
And you got to love it. You got to love it. Like, I don't know about you, but I will say that as much as frustrating as I can get, because there are things literally that I've been trying for the last year that still haven't clicked quite right. And it's like, as frustrating as it is, I view this unknown as a puzzle. I view it as an opportunity. I see all the growth I'm having. I'm seeing all the connections. I'm seeing the friendship that you and I have as a result of this journey of who knows what. We're not creating something necessarily together, but like, this is one of those nourishing relationships. I love you so much. I've appreciated you coming on here and sharing your genius with this community. And like, these are the types of things that if we focus on those things, we realize how worth it actually is. 100%. Like, how truly worth it is to go on that journey.
Perfect example is also my husband's company, Tribute. I'm going to go get him real quick. But he basically started this epic company called Tribute. You guys should check out www.tribute. And basically what Tribute is, right now, especially so Tribute, I'll tell you what it is first. So imagine if you woke up one day and you opened your email and then you just saw a video and you pressed play, and it's a video of every single person in your life telling you why they love you and how you've impacted their life. And so what Tribute does is it basically sends out, and all you have to do is put your email addresses in of all the people that you want to do a tribute for the person, and then it sends out these emails, and then it takes a video, and then it collects these videos.
Hi.
Oh,
Hi.
and then it collects these videos, and then collates them into a beautiful video montage. And it's the best. It's the most beautiful, most meaningful gift in the world. And he started it in 2014. He started in 2014. Wait, here, do you want to quickly sing I Love You?
I love you, you love me, we're happy from morning when I came home. What you say you love me too?
Yeah. Okay. That's his thing. He loves singing I Love You, which is great, of course.
What's the website?
Tribute.co. Yeah, tribute.co.
Tribute.co.
And if anyone is like missing a graduation or a wedding or who's giving birth, so if you go to tribute.co/corona, it's free to use.
This is the great thing about a live audience, by the way. You could just ask someone else to type it for you. They'll type it.
Tribute.co/corona. You can basically, I'm gonna go get him because I'll get him in a second. But the story is that he started this in 2014, and it was like eking by, but it's such a beautiful gift. It's the most meaningful gift on earth. It makes you feel so like human and so appreciated and so seen and so loved. And it's like a eulogy before you die. It's like having a eulogy before you die. It's like having everyone in your life telling you why they love you and how you've impacted their life. And sometimes when someone pays you a compliment, you're like, no. But then all of a sudden it's like 25 people telling you why they love you. And you're like, you take it in. And it's like this beautiful demonstration of love for a person. So I highly recommend you guys do it for love.
I've done one before. They're great.
Oh, it's just, let me get him real quick. 'Cause he's the
I
best.
didn't realize that was your husband that did that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, while she's going to get her husband, create community, I just want to remind you about our virtual house party that we have on Saturday. It's dope. 7 p.m. Be there. It's awesome. Trust me.
Dada, come. Dada. Oh, is that package?
What's up, brother?
What's happening?
Not too much. She was just singing your praises and telling the story about Tribute.
She's a Tribute hype man.
Zero, please, because you can't hear anybody, my sweet cute. I know, I love it. He's talking. Okay.
Good job.
So, so basically, I was just saying, like, his company was like kind of like, it's like a little engine that could, and now it's like, woo! It's like happening, and 6 years later again, because he's been so passionate about this beautiful company and this beautiful work that he's doing, and it's working out. Tell him about it.
So,
well, I already told him the story, but Imagine Waking Up. But just tell them how it's going.
Notice. So basically, we've been building this company for 6 years, and in the past 2 weeks, pretty much we've for all regards 15x our traffic and customers. We've been a 6-person company for 3 years, and we just hired 5 new people in the past 2 weeks.
Wow.
And it's pretty wild. So it's crazy right now in all the best ways. And I was just on with my team, and I was like,
I mean, the kind of things that he's getting are like, you have no idea. My grandma has Alzheimer's, and she watches this every single day to remember who loves her. My best friend is graduating and is devastated that she can't have a graduation. And I've graduated already or whatever. There's like my friend's about to give birth, and like they're freaking out. And just like these stories, it's tear jerking every single one of them. Tell them about the KPI.
So we have for a long time thought of our company as kind of a lighthouse for ethical tech, of aligning our own performance indicators with the value that we're bringing into the lives of the people that use it. And so one of our key performance indicators, for those of you, is something called TOJ.
TOJ.
Which stands for Tears of Joy. And so today we've created more than 500,000 of these tribute videos, and 80% of those people have cried tears of joy when they watched it.
Like
80%.
It's like an actual stat that we track on our back end of everyone.
Whoa. So we've been talking about basically the entrepreneurial journey. And one of the things that Miki said was like, are you willing, if you're going to start a business, are you from the very beginning knowing that you're willing to put in 10 years into this? And I was just stating, even for myself, it was probably 6 years of putting out content before anything really popped. And so similarly for your journey, I'm curious, anything you want to leave, like a word of wisdom from your entrepreneurial journey around that kind of message?
I just think that it's a great way to find sustainable motivation to create is to align our own experience, story, and oftentimes struggle with what we create for others. Of like, for me, like I received this tribute when I was 27 years old, 2014, and watching that video was like one of the first times in my entire life that I felt like I really grasped the concept of like accepting and loving myself, because I had the people that I cared most about doing that for me. And so it's just like, if you think about the moments.
It took me 11 hour, like more than 11 hours to like make this video.
So it's just that idea of like, how can we learn from our own experience, how we've struggled, what we've overcome, what's been important, and then create solutions, content that share our own experience to support other people that are currently enduring a similar one. And like that idea of using our own story, to me, it kind of just feels like answering a calling and like even deeper than purpose, but like leveraging your own story as fuel to help others and create some meaningful stuff.
Perfect. And that ties in perfectly, everybody, to the 3 questions that Miki said about, does it suck for you? Does it suck for others? You know, and are you willing to put in the time? So that is beautiful advice. Thank you very much, brother. Congratulations on the success. Congratulations on this popping off.
You guys,
I put it in tribute.co/corona.
So if you just think of like one person, it's Mother's Day, Father's Day coming up. So it's tribute.co/corona. One of our taglines that we use at the end of our videos is, we all grew up with the saying, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. But we think that it'd be a much better saying if it was, if you have anything nice to say, say it all. And so share it if you have some gratitude or appreciation.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. And
I mean, it took basically, tribute takes like an 11-hour or like 25-hour process of collecting all the videos into like 10 minutes. And you just like, it automatically sends the emails. It sends auto reminders. You just press record. It records a video. You press submit, and you're done. And then the app just collects all the videos. You can move them around, publish, and you're done. It's like,
I love how excited you are cheerleading your husband. Like that is something that I'm taking note of right now. Can everyone just see like how you are just as passionate, maybe even more passionate about like what he is doing as you've been about anything you've talked about that you've done. And I think that's really beautiful.
He's the best. You know, it's easy to support the best human ever. He's just, I mean, when I met him, he was 24, I was 31, by the way. And you date younger men are great too. Okay. I support younger men. Cause it's like, date the older man who's got the blah, blah, blah. Like, no, like younger men are also, it's a young sperm, you know, you're an entrepreneur. You gotta start late. Like it's good. He when I met him, he started this organization, a nonprofit called Dreams for Kids, where basically he was and it's still running to this day, dreamsforkidsdc.org, and it's basically teaching kids with disabilities leadership skills and playing extreme sports with all these top sports teams. So and where kids like with disabilities have never done like extreme water skiing or played hockey with the Washington Nationals and doing all these amazing things. And it's like when I met him, it was like he had $0 to his name, lots of credit card debt. It's not like, it's like you marry for love. And I think we live in a weird society where it's like, did he get me a handbag? And it's like, that just doesn't fucking matter. It's like, do they have a huge heart? Do they care about the world? They care about the right things. His heart is so huge. I don't worry about him for a second ever. And he's always reminding me of like the holy shitness of being alive. And so I think for all those reasons, like,
Yes,
yeah.
celebrating love. What a beautiful way to end this up. Miki, I'm so grateful for your time. I'm so grateful that you and I are connected in this life now as hat twinsies.
Yeah, we are.
I'm so glad that you have put out your new book, Disrupt Her. So why don't you tell people where they can follow you, get the book, and and Tushy, like, where can they get more of Miki?
Well, first of all, thank you for being here. What a great intimate group. I love it. And for just listening and paying attention. Yeah, I mean, at Miki Agrawal on Instagram is great if you want to DM me. I also, on mikiagrawal.com, I'm just in the process of my website's getting redone right now. It should be up like tomorrow or so. But there is a subscribe button on my current sort of landing page where if you subscribe to it, you get 52 moves in 52 weeks. So every week you get a different move that you can make, like a disruptive move. And it's totally free. So you can check out, if you go to mikiagrawal.com, I think it's /subscribe. You could subscribe to this sort of every week. You get this little email kind of cheerleading moment. And then Tushy is hellotushy.com.
You're sending me one, right? Like, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, but you sent me your address, right?
Well, you sent the book to that address, so you should have it, but I'm going to text it.
Yeah. Perfect. Great.
Okay.
Okay. So that's the address.
I want to make sure. I want one. I'm going to buy one.
No. It's coming. It's coming to you. But it's going to take a second because we're backlogged.
All good.
And
I'll
then
just continue to sit in feces.
And my book you can buy on Amazon, you can buy Barnes and Noble, you can buy it, I mean, obviously online right now, Amazon.com. And if you want to see the kind of the video that I made for it, which I think is kind of cool, go to disrupther.co. And then and then this is where you can. Whatever. Yeah, someone put it already. Perfect. Thank you, Yusuf.
It's just, are you messaging someone privately? I swear every time you type something in, it doesn't show up in my chat.
Oh, that was private. Sorry. Yes. Yep. Totally.
Someone's just getting like personalized messages in the chat. I don't know who it is, but thanks a lot for sharing.
It's Carlinian.
Yeah. Perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Miki, thank you so much for being here. Create Community, thank you so much for being a part of this. I love this like live podcast sort of thing. And just really encourage you to check out the book. It's good. What I've read of it so far is really good. And as you can tell from this conversation, Miki is a badass. And having met her in person, she lives what she's talking about. So it's coming from a really experienced, embodied place. And I just want to say thank you one more time to everybody. I want to remind you that always, in all ways, you are seen, you are heard, and you are loved. Everybody have a really great rest of your day. Miki, talk to you soon.
Bye.